guys, welcome to another video. So today, as you can see by the title of the video, it's at like 9:20 at night, as you can see, but I am on this thing called Bracket HQ. It's a thing that I, started to do. I'm doing it for, like, wrestling or whatever right now, but what it is, it's like a little bracket thing. We could set up your own bracket, and you have to pay to get, 64 participants, so the highest you can go is 32. So, as of right now, lucky enough for me, I didn't realize this until the other day, including Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there are 32 MCU movies. So I'm gonna go through this tournament. As you can see, we got a tournament lined up here. It's just because I put all of the MCU movies in order on when they debuted into the film. So I don't know what all matches there are. So I'm just gonna go down the list. I'm gonna talk about like what all, yeah, I'm gonna talk about like what makes them good or whatever, like what makes them beat the other one. So this is gonna be round one. The first matchup is Iron Man versus Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, I didn't do a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review, so I'm just going to give you my quick thoughts on it. I enjoyed the film. Personally, one of my absolute favorite MCU movies. I can't say too much about it because it just came out this past Friday, so, spoilers and whatever. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the comedy in it. It was super sad. It got me in the heart a lot, there were a lot of just great moments about it. The High Evolutionary was a great villain, super badass, super like, oh damn, like this dude is fucking evil. There was just a lot of great moments. There's a lot of great moments in it. This was definitely a Rocket Raccoon story, no doubt about it, from beginning to end. So yeah, so I can't wait to see where they take to the MCU. Sure, also I will say this, Adam Warlock kind of didn't feel needed, but at the same time, he also needed an origin story, and I think this was a perfect time to get him introduced inside the MCU, and to get him, where he needs to be. So with the way that things are looking, and the two post-credit scenes, I really enjoyed them. So the other one is Iron Man. Great movie. I just watched this for the 15th anniversary of the MCU, or the 15th anniversary of Iron Man, technically both at the exact same time. It was a great movie. I enjoyed it. It was a great starter for the MCU. One of the best MCU movies, I think, in general. But I mean, also, there were like 32 MCU movies, excluding, multiverse, but that's if you want to count the multiverse or not. And by this point, especially adding on to the projects, I think there's like just MCU alone is 39 projects, so this movie doesn't really get lost in the shuffle because it's the first. But it's, once again, one of the greatest movies. I think it's the second best Phase 1 movie for sure, because it's like right under Avengers. But this is absolutely the this is the movie that kicked off the MCU. This is the movie that what got us into the MCU today. So that compared to Guardians 3, once again, Ironmonger I think was a great villain. Obadiah Stane, we got him in the Tony Box made a suit from a box of scraps line, and I say that all the time whenever I watch the movie. I really enjoy it. I love Iron Man. Iron Man is what got me into, I kind of want to say Iron Man is what got me into comic books, but at the same time, I think it was also the Superhero Squad that also got me into the comics. So I think it was both, but Iron Man was a big part of Superhero Squad as well, but it's not the RDJ Iron Man, it's the Tom Kenny Iron Man. Superhero Squad was, an animated series, one that I'm actually going back and rewatching. Anyway, it's not about that, it's about this. But which one do I like more, Iron Man or Guardians 3? There were going to be a lot of tough decisions, so this one's really starting out with a bang. But I personally, actually I should have just done this. Personally, this is a tough one. kind of got to give the edge to, do I need to, no, because the date I don't think really matters. Just in case, yeah, sure, the 10th. I'm just gonna save info. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I think, beats Iron Man out. It was just that good, and you know, I'm not gonna say what my, I almost give away, you know, what my favorite MCU movie is, but that might also somewhat be controversial, but I'll explain why later on, and I think I'll go more in depth with the finals. Next up is Black Panther versus Thor Ragnarok. These two are such great fucking movies. Thor Ragnarok, whenever it first came out, I'm like, dude, this has to be my favorite fucking movie. Like it went from Suicide Squad into Thor Ragnarok into Infinity War into Endgame into, well, you'll see what the winner is. If you've watched my videos beforehand, you'll automatically know. You know by watching, you know, certain lists and give my reviews. But even at that, though, that's just personally my opinion, what the best is. But this is also just my opinion. But I'm also trying not to go off of my opinion on how just how the movie was in general. So it's my opinion, but also what I would give it, but it's mainly just my opinion. So you guys can do this if you want, and then you can make your own different list. But Thor Ragnarok, you know, I think, like, I will say this about it. I don't know if I want to say Black Panther is better than it or not, because when Black Panther came out, I love it. Black Panther is my absolute favorite Marvel superhero besides from Vision. Vision and Black Panther are like tied both at one apiece. I love the characters equally the same. It's just got Black Panther, you got the Wakandan vibes. I loved Killmonger. I love the whole like Wakandans team up together to help out Black Panther at the end of the movie to face Killmonger. And rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, man. I mean, he did such a great job with the character in this movie. You know, him opening up Wakanda to the United States and to the rest of the world. And then in the post-credit scene itself, we got, what's his name? Bucky Barnes. We got Bucky Barnes. And then, of course, they call him the White Wolf, which, you know, for comic book fans, you'd get that instantly, and you'd be like, oh, man, like, that was a great little callback to the comic books. But there were a lot of great movies. The fight scenes were amazing in it. It was just a lot of great moments about it. But, once again, it's a little bit of a hard one for me, because on one hand, I kind of want to put Black Panther above Thor Ragnarok. Because just, you know, the history and my love for Black Panther, but at the same time, Thor Ragnarok as a movie, once again, Soda was amazing in it. Hela as a villain was an interesting choice. Taika Waititi did an amazing job of directing it. We got Thor and Gladiator Hulk in that movie, which I think personally that might be my favorite scene in the entire movie. So, although there were a lot of, you know, great moments for that movie as well. But man, the Black Panther and CGI work in that as well was also very, very good, and the fighting scenes were very good as well. But I think I gotta give the edge to Thor Ragnarok here. I gotta give it to Thor Ragnarok. As much as it pains me as a Black Panther fan to not let Black Panther go on this far, it's just as a movie, I think Thor Ragnarok is better than Black Panther, but Black Panther is still such a great film. Still ranks up there with some of my favorites, but Thor Ragnarok, I think I enjoy much, much more. Now, I'm also just letting you guys know the losers of this. I'm probably going to do a ranking video on phases 1 through 4, right before phase 5 ends. I think if phase 5 ends like 2024, 2025, I'm not sure yet. Depends on what Kevin Feige might announce for the MCU leading forward. Anyways, guys, next up, I'm gonna try and do this because it's gonna be a long video. Next up is Captain America: The Winter Soldier versus Black Widow. I'm just letting you guys know, Black Widow, I was not a fan of the movie. Black Widow takes place after the events of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, but it just wasn't that great. I got too confused during it. Like, probably the worst film out of Phase 4. And Phase 4 was kind of like Phase 1.2. I'm sorry, Phase 1.5. Not really Phase 1.5. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like Phase 1 2.0. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe Phase 4, but I personally liked it. But Black Widow, man, I was not a fan of the film. They did Taskmaster dirty. It was just fucking bad. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I liked it. Personally, an unpopular opinion, a little bit of a hot take, I wasn't that big of a fan of the film. I don't even think it cracks my top 15 MCU movies, personally. But I think in this instance it's better than Black Widow. I'm not that big of a Black Widow fan. In my opinion, I think Black Widow is either the second or third worst Marvel Cinematic Universe movie to me. I think it might be the second worst. I would let you guys know what my least favorite one is, but I think Captain America: The Winter Soldier is better. The fight scenes in it were great. The elevator scene was awesome, but I think my biggest thing with that is I watched it a little late. Because every time I watch Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I either A, fall asleep during the film, or B, the last time I watched it on Disney Plus before I actually watched the entire film, I paused my phone and I went to go lay it down on the couch and I went to go use the bathroom, but I accidentally bumped a button and then it started me over again and I couldn't find my place, so I backed out of it because in my mind I'm like, I hope it still holds the place, but it says. But whenever I clicked out, it didn't say continue. It didn't give me the option to continue. It just said, do you want to watch this film? And I'm like, fuck it, I'm not going to watch it. But I finally got time to watch it, and I think I was going through, like, comic books or... Yeah, I think I was going through comic books whenever I was watching the movie, because normally whenever I go through comic books and Magic Cards, I throw on a TV series or a movie so I can watch the movie and or, like, the TV series, or I might throw on a podcast, but... Yeah, so if I watched it earlier on, whenever it first came out, I think I would have been like, oh, yeah, like, they almost died. It's also my, kind of like, my biggest thing with Black Widow was, like, if Black Widow came out earlier, I think that's when a lot of us would have went, oh, shit, is she gonna die? But since we knew she died in Endgame, it was a little bit late. Plus, I think Elena personally stole the Black Widow movie, but... Yeah, Captain America: Winter Soldier just wants that. Next up is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings versus Thor: The Dark World. Thor: The Dark World is my least favorite MCU movie. Whenever I remember it, it's just I don't want to remember it. I just get this weird feeling in my gut. It's just, oh god, Malekith and the Dark Elves. Like, I think Malekith, I actually have Malekith's first appearance. I just picked it up on Sunday, I believe. Yeah, I picked up his first appearance on Sunday. But looking at his character in the comics compared to the movie, it's just done so bad. Like, on paper, Malekith, the Dark Elves, whatever, you know, they had a chance to do something right, and then they just kind of dropped the ball on it. Not only that, but the CGI in it was awful. Like, I completely forget Korath, I think is his name, the big dude that was like the monster that killed Loki. Like, I was fucking terrified of him when I was a little kid. But honestly, guys, the day I watched Thor: The Dark World, this tells you how much I don't like the film. The day I watched Thor: The Dark World, I went back home. That was the same night that SpongeBob You're Fired was airing, and I remember watching that and enjoying it more than I did Thor: The Dark World. And I could tell you, I think everything that happened in SpongeBob will fire more so than Thor: The Dark World. I know you have like the Ether, aka the Reality Stone, and that whole thing with Jane Foster was fucking stupid. I don't even know what the hell was going on there. I can't even fucking tell you. The post-credit scene was Thor and Jane kissing, which I completely forgot about until I watched a video like about a month ago. Like I completely forgot about that. That just slipped through my mind. I thought I think my favorite scene from the movie itself was the mid-credit scene with the Collector going one down, five to go. Whenever he got the Power Stone, right? Was it the Power Stone? Yeah, it was the Power Stone that he got because it showed it in Guardians of the Galaxy. I believe. Or was no. I'm sorry. That was the Reality Stone he got. Fuck me, because he got it. He got the Reality Stone because Thanos beat him up for it. Okay, I'm sorry. Um, because Guardians introduced Power Stone. So that was my favorite scene in the movie because I'm like, oh shit, that sets up the Thor 3 villain. But I, of course, didn't know that the MCU was a thing at the time, and I had no idea what they were trying to set up for. But I enjoyed that movie more. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, personally, it's in my like top 15, top 10 favorite Marvel movies. Oh my god, it is so good. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, holy shit, that was amazing. The CGI, the fight scenes, the music in the movie, just fucking everything about it. I'm like, that is a top 10 MCU movie, and at that moment, I'm like, this has to be a movie of the year contender, in my opinion. So, it was so good. I went back and I watched it a while back ago with one of my buddies, and I enjoyed it the third time around. I saw it three times, twice in theater, once on Disney Plus. I own it on the um 4K Blu-ray. I think no, I'm sorry, Ultra HD Blu-ray. And I cannot wait to go back and rewatch that at some point eventually. It was such a great movie, such great storytelling in it, especially with the Ten Rings. We get to dive deeper into their backstory. We can see Shang-Chi become an Avenger without becoming an Avenger yet. It sets up to whatever the little beacon is, which as of right now, there's so many possibilities that could bring. Hopefully, if they don't fuck it up, which I'm kind of worried that they might, because they had a chance with Quantum Mania, which I'll get to, but I don't know. It's just Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It was such a great movie. Like, I can't say. Like, I have a lot of great things to say about it. That deserves a video within its own right. Next up is Captain America the First Avenger versus Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Captain America the First Avenger, I enjoy it as a film. That's about it. I enjoyed it. There wasn't really much I really enjoyed about it because I think I watched it one time. But that's a lie. I did watch it before. I think I watched it like three times. Or the first time I think I watched it when I was like really young and I couldn't tell you like a fucking thing about the movie. Besides when like Red Skull was in it at that time. I think I went back and I actually watched it in like 2018. I think. Right? Was it 2018? I forget when I watched that movie. It was 2018, 2019. I forget. But I remember watching that movie and I was like, oh, cool, Red Skull, whatever. And the last time I watched it in 2020 because it was the 9-year anniversary of the film, right? Yeah, it was the 9-year anniversary of the film. And I got tired doing it, and then my mom and I both shut it off because it was just that boring. And the more I think about it, it's just I'm not a big Captain America fan. Um, Captain America: Civil War is my favorite Captain America movie, but overall, I think the first Avenger was probably the the worst one out of them all. So, but Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that's getting the automatic win for me. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, there was more madness than multiverse, unfortunately, but whenever they were going through the multiverse, I loved it, and it set up so many possibilities that was going on, especially with the mid-credit scene and to the end of the movie, to the mid-credit scene with Clea and Doctor Strange entering the Dark Dimension. You could even say the Dark Dimension is a multiverse within itself. And of course, if you don't know, Clea is Doctor Strange's lover inside the comics. America Chavez and getting that whole power thing with multiverse. Something tells me that Kang is gonna go after that, or God Emperor Doom and Secret Wars. Scarlet Witch, she was fucking scary. She was so fucking scary in that movie. Like, if you want to talk about a good scary Scarlet Witch inside the MCU, and that was also the first time ever she was called the Scarlet Witch. So even points on top of that. Plus, they called the main Earth 616. I clapped for that moment inside the theater. I was like, dude, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. And I remember everyone clapping for Mr. Fantastic. Everyone enjoyed, I think, a little bit more than Professor X and them, because Mr. Fantastic wasn't really announced besides from everyone else. They should have really kept those as the big multiverse variants, because everyone was like, oh my god, like, are we gonna get, Deadpool and Wolverine and everyone else inside the MCU in this moment? And it just really just kind of let us down. There was more madness than multiverse, but I still enjoyed the film for what it was. This is definitely, I know they say that Guardians of the Galaxy pushed the boundaries. They say it was gory, kind of, in a way. I'll get to that later. It did drop an F-bomb, I will say that. I'm not going to say when, just in case if you're older and you have a little kid and you're worried about that. I'm not going to tell you what. You can figure it the fuck out for yourself. I'm not one to say. I am one to let my little kid sit down and watch Freddy vs. Jason with them, which was a better movie than I expected it to be. But actually, I expected it to be better, but I still enjoy the film anyway. But yeah, anyways, I'll get to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 later on, say more about it. But Multiverse of Madness, I think it pushed a little bit more to the darker side of the MCU without giving us Nightmare, which, if we're going to go into the dark dimension, if it's not Dormammu as a villain, which I'll be super surprised if it isn't, it will be probably, but it should be Nightmare. If Sam Raimi wasn't in charge and they kept the original director, I think they were planning on having Nightmare as the main villain. So there was also talks that Nightmare was actually Scarlet Witch, but Scarlet Witch as the main villain of it, awesome. I love that they named Jock Cthulhu. So Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is getting the win in my book. Next up is Captain Marvel vs. Ant-Man. Oh boy, what the fuck do I go with? Captain Marvel, I enjoyed the first time around, but that's about it. I only watched it like one time. Ant-Man, I watched it once and I wasn't that big of a fan of it. I went back and I watched it again right before Quantumania came out, and I enjoyed the film. But it's not like one of my top 15 Marvel movies. Neither is Captain Marvel. I only think these two top the top 20 MCU movies. I think all around for enjoyment, though, and for the way that they pushed it, I kind of want to go with Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man is a better movie than Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, I'm not saying that was fully a bad movie. I enjoyed Brie Larson in it. I think she did a better job than what people say that she did. It's just Yon-Rogg as the villain I was not a fan of. They just kind of set the bar down low, and they also set up Captain Marvel to face Ronan, but of course Captain Marvel came out in 2019. Ronan was the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he died, so they were trying to set up the sequel to Captain Marvel for her to face Ronan, but Ronan the Accuser, but that really didn't go anywhere. I mean, the Stan Lee cameo was great, That fight with the old lady was awesome. The Skrulls, which I thought they were going to be the main villain of the movie, but they, of course, ended up for Secret Invasion. But Yon-Rogg as the villain was just kind of unexpected in a way. But other than that, they also really didn't say that she was Captain Marvel or Captain Marvel. They were just kind of like Agent Danvers the entire time. But Nick Fury, seeing a young Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, that was awesome. Getting introduced was Goose. Goose is probably one of my favorite moments of the entire movie. Ant-Man, once again, I love that we get to see Hank Pym kind of doing a passing of the torch down to Ant-Man in his own special way. Ant-Man becoming a thief into a hero, that was a great backstory. What was his name? Daniel, I think it was. Dan, I don't know, but Yellow Jacket becoming MODOK, that I love, like seeing him shrink down to size, but then giving him, a backstory in Quantumania and seeing like what happened to him whenever he shrunk down like that. So that was that. And MODOK is of course one of my absolute favorite Marvel villains. But I think I got to give the edge to Ant-Man here. I enjoyed the film much better, and I think I watched it once, and that was before I watched Ant-Man the Wasp. But I think I watched Ant-Man the Wasp before Endgame or after Endgame. I can't remember, but I could take Ant-Man the Wasp later. But there was that. So I think I enjoy Ant-Man more so than Captain Marvel. And then, nope, not the last movie, but Did I add Captain Marvel twice? Captain America Winter Soldier and Captain Marvel, but I just did Captain America Winter Soldier. The 32. I'm tripping, yo. I am tripping. There's no fucking way. Because there are 32 MCU movies, and I have 30. Can I change the participants? I think I can. Winter Soldier. Yeah, I added Winter Soldier twice. Hold on 1 second. Oh, Winter Soldier was supposed to be Civil War. And Captain Marvel was but what the fuck was that supposed to be? Hold on, guys. I gotta check something out here. I'll be right back. Okay, guys. So I'm back, and I figured out what my problem was. I didn't add Doctor Strange nor Captain America: Civil War. So while Doctor Strange is technically supposed to be movie number 15, movie number 13, movie number 14, he is. Anyway, Doctor Strange vs. Captain America: Civil War matchup that I have no idea if we would have gotten to or not. But oh boy. Oh man, how fucked up is this gonna be now? So it's because whenever I was looking at the list, I was trying to compare and contrast. Anyway, Captain America: Civil War, favorite Captain America film. It introduced Spider-Man, introduced Black Panther, it brought back Ant-Man. I was really excited to see Ant-Man because I think that was when I was trying to watch Ant-Man. I really enjoyed the film then. But Captain America Civil War, I enjoyed Baron Zemo. I didn't know who the villain was for a while, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Baron Zemo, that's a villain, okay, because he really didn't have his mask. So whenever he brought his mask on for for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then it really made me happy as a Marvel fan. But other than that, the whole Civil War thing, that was, nice to see. Doctor Strange, I enjoyed Doctor Strange a lot. I enjoyed Dormammu, I enjoyed the spell casting, I enjoyed meeting Wong for the first time. I got got to see Ancient One, train Doctor Strange to become the Sorcerer Supreme. Oh my god, I forgot the villain's name, but he was cool. He's not, one of the greatest MCU villains, but I think I gotta give it to Doctor Strange. As much as Captain America Civil War was a great film, and I'll go back and rewatch it, Doctor Strange is also another one where whenever I go back and I rewatch it, I enjoy it. It was such a great movie. But once again, Captain America Civil War, also another great film. This was just two really great films for the MCU. But I think Doctor Strange wins. Next up is the Battle of the Thor movies. Thor Love and Thunder and Thor. Oh fuck. Personally, let's just start off with Thor. Great Asgard Thor film. It was really, really good. I enjoyed it. I just enjoyed this movie. The big frost giant dog thing. Oh my god, I fucking love it. Like, I went back and I watched this movie not too long ago in a long time, and I sat there and I'm like, holy shit, this was a great film. Man, I completely forgot how great of a film it was. And normally I have a tendency to go back and rewatch MCU movies before I see, you know, um, the new one. So I didn't go back and see the other Thor films before Love and Thunder, but I was like, holy shit, this was a great movie. Um, like, after the fact. Um, a few months ago whenever I was watching it. Um, so Thor, I really enjoyed it. It was a really great film. I enjoyed him being on Earth and whatever, and getting introduced to Darcy Lewis, who at the time wasn't a member of the comic books. Little fun fact for you: her first comic book debut was in Scarlet Witch #1 that just came out a few months ago as well. So that's a little fun fact for you guys. Um, Also Thor: Love and Thunder. Now I'm gonna get to Thor: Love and Thunder. I enjoyed the film. I was super happy with it whenever I got out of the movie theaters. The post-credit scene introducing Hercules, I loved it. That really set up for a Hercules versus Thor movie. Hoping Chris Hemsworth is a-okay and his health is good with him. God bless him. I think he has shit, any other time I could talk to someone, I could be like, oh yeah, he has this, but because he was doing Limitless and something happened with him. Dementia? No, I'm sorry, Alzheimer's. It was Alzheimer's disease. I believe it's Alzheimer's disease. Don't take my word for it, look it up. But I think it was Alzheimer's. Um, I can't remember, but he was doing Limitless and then he got them and then he's like, hey, I just want to spend more time with my family before, just in case if his illness gets really bad and he can't remember them. So he just kind of took a step away from acting all of right now to be with them. But once again, the Guardians of the Galaxy, while unfortunately they weren't in the movie as much, that was a big letdown. I really like looking at it. I don't think they were really necessarily needed. Jane Foster, I didn't like the whole, like, Mjolnir was killing her sort of thing. I mean, on one hand, that's kind of expected for movies like these, but on the other hand, it was also kind of like, you know what I mean? Um, so, I don't know, they also kind of ruined Gore the God Butcher, and Gore the God Butcher is absolutely one of my favorite Marvel villains of all time in the comic books. He was such a great villain. The Gore saga, I could say Thor saga, the Gore saga. Like whenever I was watching the trailers, I kind of had the trailers for Love and Thunder. I kind of had little expectations. I'm like, oh, I was too happy, kind of like Guardians film at the time, not knowing what Guardians 3 was supposed to be, but I'm like, like Thor Love and Thunder was gonna be like a Guardians film, and it was gonna be too happy and whatever, and something like Gore really shouldn't be, because I was reading Gore, and I'm like, dude, he's a fucking god killer, like, he's a badass, and he was still a badass in this movie. Christian Bale did a great job as him. Um, a lot of people are like, well, second time around, I really didn't enjoy the film. It's not one of the greatest, and I think I was just giving high praise. But still, no, Christian Bale was a great villain. I watched the movie twice actually, and I have enjoyed it a second time around, which is something not many people have said. So there. But honestly, I think it was a great movie, Thor: Love and Thunder. I love the goats, the screaming goats. I'm actually gonna this Saturday, probably Saturday or Sunday, I'm gonna be getting a comic book with them on it. So because I have a short box, I have a short box I'm trying to clear out at my comic book shop. So I'm probably gonna get like one DC trade just to fill up my gap that I have. If you guys missed that video, go and watch it. I did a comic book collection, and I was showing you guys how I sold out my trade paperbacks away, but I am gonna probably be getting a brand new trade, not too expensive for one, but just my plans are getting at least one more DC trade, for the moment, just to put up on my shelf. But anyways, guys, so Thor: Love and Thunder, I did get it. I do have it owned on Blu-ray. I did watch some deleted scenes, and they were kind of alright. The one with Zeus, I'm kind of glad that he left out, because I enjoyed more that Thor just kind of struck him with the lightning bolt and took it, more so than Zeus just giving it to him, because that whole scene was awesome, and I loved it. My mom did too, but for other reasons. Cough, cough, naked Chris Hemsworth, cough, cough. But whoops, exposed my mother. Anyways, no, but I think it was a great film. But is it as great as Thor? Ah, man, I don't know. This is another really tough one. But I have to say it is. Shockingly, I have to put Thor: Love and Thunder over Thor. Sure, they did ruin Gore, and sure, there was some things too, but I think it's better than Thor. Not one of my favorite films, which is really shocking to say, because Thor was such a great movie, but I just think personally Love and Thunder was a better movie in my books, at least. Like I said, this whole tournament, it's my personal opinion. I think Thor is much better than Thor, in my opinion. So Thor: Love and Thunder has to take the W in this. Next up, guys, is Iron Man 2 versus Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Oh man, the battle of the sequels. Iron Man 2, great film. It's always 50-50 for me. Like, on one hand, whenever I'm not watching the film, I'm like, oh man, like, I enjoyed the film for what it was, and whenever I'm watching the film, I'm like, I enjoy most of it. Whiplash was a great villain to get introduced to. Should have gone to someone like Whirlwind. Sure, I guess, maybe have some little stock tech, but honestly, I liked Whiplash as a villain. There's also guys introduced to New Rhodey, not Anthony Mackie, I'm sorry, that's a Falcon. Which also, Captain America: Winter Soldier, going back to that, another reason why I won is because it introduced us to the Falcon. Anyway, New Rhodey, and it gave us the new War Machine look and the Iron Patriot suit, which was awesome. So we got 2 new suits, and that as well, which I love new suits for Iron Man. It was such a great movie. Like, I enjoyed it. It's not, one of my favorites. It's not in my top 15 MCUs. It's not in my top 10 MCUs. It's not in my top. It might be in my top 20s, actually. The more I'm thinking about it, might be in my top 20s. But I think I gotta go with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever to win this. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was so fucking well done. My favorite. I'm not a big Rihanna fan, okay? I'm sorry. If you don't like me and you'll subscribe to me because of that, just unsubscribe if you want to for that. But no, I'm serious. Please don't. Like, I like Rihanna's music, I'm just not a super fan of it. Like, I enjoy Umbrella, I enjoy her 2 songs she did with Eminem. I enjoy her songs, it's just I'm not a big Rihanna fanatic. But Lift Me Up is my favorite Rihanna song ever. Holy shit, it fits so well for this movie. Once again, rest in peace Chadwick Boseman, man, because, man, like, it was just so good. Like, this movie was supposed to be a celebration of Chadwick, and that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Namor, I'm so glad they brought Namor in. That was a big plan. Unfortunately, we never got Black Panther versus Namor at Wakanda versus Atlantis, which Atlantis was renamed Talcon, which I like more. I'm not a big fan of the Comic on My Heart, like, little sign thing that they have, but I get it's supposed to be shark teeth. I think if they extended their hands more when they do it to make it look like a shark teeth, because that Megalodon throne, mwah, French kiss. My Megalodon is my favorite kind of shark. I love sharks, absolutely. So just, oh my god, everything about this. Wakanda Forever wins, man. I'll talk about it more, but Wakanda Forever wins. Next up is Ant-Man and the Wasp versus Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I don't remember much from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ghost was a pretty alright villain. I know she's returning in the Thunderbolts. I gotta give it to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was a great movie. I enjoyed it, but I think I watched it like once or twice. I can't remember, but leading into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because that's what I want to do. Leading into that, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 and 2, and after I watched Volume 2, I'm like, man, like, it was a father movie. It was about Peter meeting his father, and then him saying, like, hey, like, I met my family, and then Gamora being pissed at him, being like, nah, Quill, like, you, like, I thought you did have a family with the Guardians, and then he realized that shoulder villain plot point at the end, like, for him to turn evil, like, it was done in a somewhat lazy writing way, but at the same time, a perfect way. He was just, like, I did also love the name. Now, by this point, whenever Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was there, I didn't know Eternity, so when Peter Quill said Eternity first time out, I'm like, okay, and then, of course, Thor Love and Thunder also, they introduced Eternity, which is something I love, but looking back on it, when Peter Quill said Eternity, I was like, holy shit, he just name dropped Eternity, because that was the first Eternity name drop, I believe. I might be mistaken, but I think it is. But it was a great film, you know. It was also a great soundtrack. All of the Guardians movies have great soundtracks. What the fuck am I thinking? I think this is probably my least favorite soundtrack out of the three, but it's also, the soundtrack in general, I think is very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I think it has great songs on it. It's just, out of the three, it's not my favorite, but I still enjoy the music that's on it. Actually, my mom started a Guardians of the Galaxy playlist, so there's some songs from Volume 2 onto that. Anyway, but still, great movie. Ant-Man and the Wasp, fuck me. The guy who played Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four 2, I said the Silver Surfer, he was, like, I think the main villain of that, in a way. I can't remember, because I know Ghost was the main villain, but I can't remember if he controlled Ghost or what. But he was in that. Was that the movie where Ant-Man got big? Yeah, that was the movie where Ant-Man got big. And we got to see Giant Man. And then we got to see also Hope Van Dyne. Yeah, bringing the Wasp. She wasn't called Wasp at all, which is also loses points for me, because when someone is the superhero, you might as well call the name of it, you know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. But I mean, I think I need to go back and watch the movie, because I didn't watch it before League and Quantumania, but I just don't think I'll enjoy it. Like, the post-credit scene, I was like, because I enjoyed the post-credit scene because of, you know, Endgame, and leading up to that, because I watched the movie before Endgame, but I don't think but looking back on it, I can't really tell you too much about this film. I remember that Scott Lang was on house arrest, and those were some funny moments, and also the ant playing the drums, that was also super funny as well. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for the win. Next up is Avengers Age of Ultron versus Avengers Endgame. Fuck. I wanted Age of Ultron to go another one, but Avengers Endgame is one of my absolute favorite movies. Absolute favorite movies all around in general. Definitely my top 5, my top 3 movies, actually. It was so fucking good. It was for a while, and once again, I'm not gonna say, you know, what my new favorite MCU movie is, but For a while, this was my favorite movie since 2019, and the most recent Marvel movie that just came out, it was really, really good, and it's now my new favorite movie. So, but Avengers Endgame it was. But Avengers Age of Ultron, underrated movie. It's so good. People overlook it, but it's so good. The trailer was really well done. Ultron, super badass villain. I don't know why the fuck people have him a little low on their list. Personally, in my opinion, he's kind of a top 10 Marvel villains. Maybe I'd even go as far as say top 5 MCU villains. But he's such a great villain. The story was so good. It was, oh man, it pains me to not have Avengers Age of Ultron win this. It was that great of a movie. I think I watched this about 3 or 4 times and enjoyed it every single time. I remember watching this movie in 3D. I remember being super sad over the fact that Quicksilver died. That movie got me introduced to Scarlet Witch. I will say Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch is hot. But anyway, other than but that was I was like, oh wow, Scarlet Witch, okay. Anyway, um, it was just so many great things about it. What, um, oh my god, Sakaar was it? I think it was Sakaar. I forget. I want to call it Latveria, but the rumor is that Doctor Doom is rebuilding it into Latveria, where it's like Doctor Doom's new place. Oh my god. Why is my mind, it's so fucking bad. Normally, most of the time whenever I'm talking about Marvel movies, I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, it'll come to me and I'll be like, oh, shit. Oh my god. My mind's just so mad. It's also probably because it's like 10 o'clock at night and my brain normally goes on a rampage. Is normally on like a ruckus when I'm talking about Marvel movies earlier on. Um, it's just such a great movie. Avengers Endgame, it was just one of my favorite movies. The action in it was great. The storytelling, I'm trying to be a comic book writer, so I pay attention to the storytelling. The storytelling in Avengers Endgame is phenomenal, and it's high up on my list. So Avengers Endgame has to go by. Next up is Spider-Man: No Way Home and the Avengers. Oh man, this is gonna be when things are getting really, really tough. The Avengers was such a great movie, my favorite movie out of Phase 1, my least favorite Avengers movie, but this movie does make my top 15 Marvel movies, maybe even top 14, I'm not sure, but it was so, so good. I enjoyed it in 2012 when I was a little kid. I grew up watching it, and it was one of my absolute favorite movies. I think I'd even go as far as to say at one point it was my favorite movie until Age of Ultron came out. So I think every Avengers movie at one point is my favorite movie at some point or another. Anyway, but Avengers was such a great film, but Spider-Man No Way Home has to take the cake. Spider-Man No Way Home got us introduced back and brought back. It really didn't introduce us to anyone. It brought back Andrew and Toby, which to me personally was the cherry on top of the already perfect ice cream. Like, think about an ice cream. For example, oh fuck, what can I use for example? For example, in my mind, the perfect ice cream is like a chocolate vanilla swirl mixed mixed with like some fudge on it, put some sprinkles on it, put like maybe a few gummy bears on it, just make it this absolute beauty. And the cherry on top, the thing that makes the ice cream even better than it already is the cherry on top of it, and that's what Andrew and Toby were. They were the cherry on top of it of an already perfect movie, from the soundtrack to the moments to the everything. This movie is fucking god tier. It's moving on. It is moving on. Next up, Iron Man 3 versus Eternals. Okay, this is a hard one for me. Eternals, personally, I liked it. It was a solid 8 out of 10 movie for me. Um, Now I want to go back and rewatch it at some point or another. But I remember walking out of the movie theater and be like, "Oh, this movie was much better than I expected." And I was talking to people about it at the one comic shop I work at. I'm like, dude, this movie was better than I thought. Like, it did introduce us to Star Fox and Pip the Troll. It did introduce us to the Celestials, which they, I think, given more time in the MCU, will be bigger characters. But also the Eternals, sure, I think it was just the timing of them, and a lot of people were like, well, why weren't they there for Thanos? And it was this whole thing that a lot of people didn't like about it. But personally, I like the storytelling. Sure, it felt a little dragged out, which is what loses points for me, but at the same time, it's that storytelling to it that makes it really good. It's that storytelling with the Eternals. The battle scenes were great. Icarus, I was like, holy shit, they were gonna make the villain. That I was a little surprised, honestly, by that. Angelina Jolie, I think, was much better in this film than I expected her to be. As Thena, I don't think it's one of her best roles, but it was really good. Druig, I forget what the guy's name is who plays Druig, but he did very well as Druig. I'm not gonna. I don't have high expectations for him to be Joker in the Batman and Robert Pattinson's the Batman trilogy or series or whatever the fuck he's gonna have. I don't have high expectations for it because after Heath Ledger's Joker, it's just kind of hard to beat him by this point. Like, sure, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe and the Elseworlds, like, sure, but like it's good for that reason because it's a different multiverse. But truthfully, it's just, man, it's just, I don't know. I'm not excited for it. It's just like after Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25, like that match could have gone on first, and you could have had like Omega versus Okada, uh, 1-on-1 after that, and that match would not have been as good as Taker versus Michaels. Sure, a lot of people would have enjoyed it, but a lot of people were like, nah, like Taker and Michaels would have been the best match on that card because it's just that damn good. Anything you would have put after that, people would say that that match would have been better. So it's kind of how I feel with Heath Ledger as Joker. But anyways, I'm sorry, that's DC. This is Marvel. Eternals, great movie. Iron Man 3, another great movie. This is one that people overlook. I remember going to see this movie in the theaters and it just being great. It had heartfelt moment for Iron Man. This was the beginning of Phase 2 of the MCU, but by this point I was just like, ooh, Marvel movie. Okay, I'll watch it. It's Iron Man. I like Iron Man. That's how I based off the MCU movies when I was a little kid, or just Marvel and comic books in general, because we were little kids and we didn't know that much better. And unless if you really paid attention to shit when you were ordering what those Marvel movies are supposed to be, I think everyone had no idea what the fuck they were doing. They were just like, oh, cool, it's a combined universe, but I don't think many people expect it to be what it is today. But I think I want to give it to Iron Man 3 as much as Eternals was a great movie. I just think Iron Man 3 is better. It brought back all the suits, brought back the old suits. Aldrich Killian was an okay villain, not the best villain, but oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. Personally, I think it was great. He was a pretty good villain. Not, one of my absolute favorite villains inside of the MCU, not even close, but he did good for what they were supposed to be doing. So Iron Man 3 beats Eternals. Next up is Spider-Man Far From Home, and then Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh boy, Guardians of the Galaxy, I went back and I rewatched it, and it was really, really good. It was more funny. It was funnier than I expected it to be. It was more action-packed. It had more story to it. If it was Star Wars trying to deal with the tragic death of his mother, and then going on and becoming Avenger and all this, all that, and then the Guardians forming, and them had to be fighting against Ronan, and then he used dance like Kevin Bacon, and it was just great movie, and especially after looking back on it. I'll say the thing that I'm gonna say later about Guardians 3. So it's also, I guess I should have said this, spoiler alert to every single fucking MCU movie. but it was a great movie and I really enjoyed it. Spider-Man Far From Home, another great movie. Mysterio is my absolute favorite Spider-Man villain, tied up there with Electro. Electro and Mysterio, two of my absolute favorites. I love Electro. I think his powers are super unique. His character is super awesome. His costume design is awesome and it works. Electro is one of my absolute favorites. Mysterio, another one of my absolute favorites. Just his powers, his story, his whole thing, everything about Mysterio works. Master of manipulation, master of illusion, whatever the fuck he is. I think personally it works. Um okay, sorry guys, I had to close the curtain too because I was getting a little bit of a draft. Um anyway, but still it was a great movie. I enjoyed what they said was the multiverse. I think Spider-Man Far From Home is honestly the beginning of the multiverse. I know it ended off phase 3, but it was more or less a mini phase within its own right. It was like phase 3.5. You know what I mean? It was like that mini phase inside just to show what phase 4 and phase 5 and phase 6 was supposed to be looking like. But it's just grounding off the it was kind of like the series finale. It's kind of like in a TV series. Like the Infinity Saga was a TV series. Endgame was the season finale, although you could say it wrapped up everything. And that's what, a season finale is supposed to be. A series finale is also supposed to wrap up everything. Spider-Man Far From Home. And I'm talking Marvel. My rabbit is looking at me fucking crazy right now. Yes, I'm talking about Spider-Man. Don't look at me like that. Spider-Man is his absolute favorite. He loves watching his movies. Anyways, I'm gonna use the reference Supernatural actually, because he also enjoys watching that show. So it's kind of like Supernatural, and Jensen Ackles even said the last episode of Supernatural is the series finale. The episode before that is a season finale, and it wraps up everything that has to do with God. While the last episode is a series finale and is supposed to wrap up the entire series. That's what Far From Home was supposed to be. It was wrapping up the entire series of the Infinity Saga, but it was starting a spin-off series with Fate, with the Multiverse Saga, and it was showing us a little preview of what that was going to be, with Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, talking about, multiverse and all that, and showing, like, what these things were supposed to be, just giving us a little idea of some sort of what that was going to be, teasing us for No Way Home and whatever. Honestly, the more I think about it, I think Spider-Man Far From Home is better than Guardians of the Galaxy. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm remembering the movie. And each thing with Spider-Man has its own thing. Homecoming is because Peter Parker... I think I might be diving into the Homecoming title a little bit too soon, but I'm going to just give you guys a little hint. In fact, I'm going to be making a video of my own, talk about the Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man Home Trilogy and what the titles mean, but I think Homecoming is a reference for Spider-Man is coming home to the MCU, because, yeah, and then Far From Home is he is going away from Queens, New York, and he's trying to leave Spider-Man behind because he wants to get together with MJ, although he's kind of forced into a position where he has to be Spider-Man, but he's outside of his home state, and he has to deal with all this stuff in the different countries and whatever. So, and then No Way Home is, well, with the ending of that movie, there's no one to go to. No one remembers who he is. There's no way home for Spider-Man. He is all alone. He has no one. No one remembers who he is. He's all alone. So there's, like, Aunt May is dead. Iron Man is dead. Happy Hogan doesn't remember him. Nick Fury might remember him. We don't fucking know if he's actually a Skrull and all. We'll get, used to that. We'll get deeper into that at some point with Secret Invasion, but it was just, all those movies I think mean something different. Far From Home is supposed to be, once again, him being away from Queens, New York, and him trying to be away from Spider-Man for as much as he can, and try not to do this, even though Spider-Man and Queens is like his home. So it's Yeah, I think that's what this movie is supposed to be about. He's not in Queens. He's traveling away from there. He's traveling away from his friends, his family, even though he's with some of his friends, with Ned and MJ and whatever. But, like, his other friends, like his Avengers friends. But, honestly, the more I think about it, Far From Home gets the win. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. Next up is Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Avengers Infinity War. Um, I was hoping by the hour point we'd get done with the 32 movies and then we'd be moving on. Um, Avengers Infinity War, absolutely. I don't know why I took a few seconds to think about it. Infinity War was action packed. It was great. It was everything about that movie was so fucking good. You can't tell me like one bad thing about that movie. Like it was just great. Spider-Man Homecoming personally, it looks like that movie kind of got bumped up a bit after I watched Morbius. After Morbius came out, that got bumped up my Spider-Man list a little bit because it's my least favorite live-action Spider-Man. But at the same time, it got bumped up the list just by one in Spider-Man, just by one. MCU wise, maybe one or two, but even at that though, like it was great. Once again, it was Spider-Man's homecoming to the MCU. He was coming home where Spider-Man should be, and it was still a great movie. Like I would still go on it and enjoy it for what it is. Michael Keaton's Vulture, phenomenal. Love Michael Keaton. He's my favorite Batman. No one bad thing to say about him. Tom Holland. This is also what got me. I thought was my favorite Spider-Man at the time, and then I'm like, Andrew Garfield's my favorite Spider-Man. So just right now, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Not my favorite Spider-Man movie, not one of my absolute favorites in the MCU. Still a great movie. Avengers Infinity War, easily a top 3 favorite movie in my opinion as well. So, just Infinity War, once again, it just has to go up there. It's just that great of a fucking film. Nothing can beat it. And if there is, it has to have a tough time. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania versus the Incredible Hulk is next. Quantumania wins. The Incredible Hulk, it was a great movie. I watched it twice. The second time around, there's more detail to it that I didn't see at first, but still at that though, it felt a little more dragged on than I thought, but it felt like I was watching a Marvel movie, which when I'm watching a Marvel movie, I want to feel like I'm watching a Marvel movie, which is what the Incredible Hulk did. So it got points for that. But other than that, all around, it's just like probably one of my least favorite Marvel movies. In fact, I'd say it's probably my third least favorite Marvel movie. It's just I'm not that big of a fan of the film. So it's just that I enjoyed it for what it was. It felt like I was watching a Marvel movie. It's just I wasn't a fan of it. Quantumania, I think, is in my top 15 MCU movies. It was so fun. It was super super cool. King the Conqueror. God knows what's going on with Jonathan Majors right now, but they addressed him in a great way. They have all of his King variants. So even if they get a different actor to play King, who cares as long as they're still gonna be continuing the story for King and just act like it was the other guy. I think it's gonna be okay. Um, MODOK, once again, love MODOK. One of my absolute favorite movies. Is MODOK an Avenger? Is he not an Avenger? We may never know. He's dead. But hopefully in Secret Wars we get to see MODOK return one last time. I don't think he will, but he should. Also, I forget what his name is, but the guy who's like, I have holes. Yeah, him. He was also a fantastic addition to the film, and I absolutely loved him. I thought, like, after that, my mom and I think all the way coming home, we were like, I have holes, because holes is the biggest thing in the MCU. The more I'm thinking about it, kind of, because there's a lot of plot holes in it. Anyway, but Quantumania, it's continuing. Next up, we're into round 2. The first, oh, fuck me in the ass. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 versus Thor Ragnarok. Ah, shit. When I made my top 15 MCU movies, Guardians wasn't out yet. Ah, shit. Guardians 3, once again, this is when we're gonna start getting into heavy spoilers. So if you haven't seen Guardians 3, back out now. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there was a line in there that I really had to stop and think about. It was whenever Rocket went back and he regained, and I can't say regained, he went with Lila, and then he got back together with her because of Into the Forever, I guess, with Beautiful Skies. So that scene, the one I'm talking about with Teefs and Flo and them come back out, and when Rocket, of course, much older. The one like right before Rocket dies, or kind of when he dies, but then Lila tells him that he has to go because he needs to finish the story. I just had Cody Rhodes moment. Anyway, but no, Lila told him she said that it was always Rocket's story, and the movie just kind of paused there for me, and then a flashback of both Guardians Volume 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 just kind of played, and the more I thought about it, I was like, holy shit, it really is a Rocket Raccoon story, and both of them, like, sure, there were some moments in there, it was supposed to be like a Peter Quill film. At the same time, most of the things that was going on, like, it was a Rocket film. Like, sure, I think Guardians film was a Star Wars story, kind of like the first one, but at the same time, though, I think it was always Rocket's story. It's just we never realized that it was Rocket's story until Lila said that. Now, going on the other hand, Thor Ragnarok. So that just kind of ups the points to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and once again, Adam Warlock. Guardians of the Galaxy was also very. I think once I re-go see it again, I think I'll love the film even more. Might even change my list, and might even bump up a few spots. Because the first time around when you're watching a Marvel movie, it's always hard to take something in the first time around, because it's either you're gonna like it first time around, or you're not gonna like it first time around, and then maybe the second time around you like it, and then maybe the second time around you don't like it. It depends. But Thor Ragnarok is a film that I'll watch always and forever and just enjoy more. Once again, Surtur and Hela and all of that. The battles, Fenrir and Hulk, because Gladiator Hulk was great. There's a lot of great moments. Like, yes, once again, that battle scene with Hulk and Thor. You know what? I'm giving it to Guardians Volume 3. Shockingly, I'm gonna give it to Guardians Volume 3. Once again, Thor Ragnarok, one of my absolute favorite Marvel movies, and I really enjoy it. There was a lot, like, I know him, he's a friend from work, and then Thor getting his lightning power, Stan Lee cutting his hair. There was a lot of great moments, us seeing Better Ray Bill on the side, us getting introduced to Valkyrie, which Valkyrie was an awesome addition to the movie, but I don't think it tops Guardians Volume 3. That might be a hot take, and a lot of people might not agree with me, but that's at least where that's going right now. Next up is Captain America Winter Soldier versus Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. I gotta go to Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Once again, Captain America Winter Soldier, it was an awesome film. The fight scenes were awesome, but if I watched it in like 2014, whenever the movie came out, right before Avengers Infinity War, right before Avengers, Age of Ultron, I think I would have been more like, oh shit, he's gonna die, but really he didn't. It kind of felt the same way about Nick Fury, like, oh, he's not gonna die because he was in the future MCU movies. So it kind of also got rid of that. But Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, it beats it once again for many purposes. The fight scenes were great. In the movie, the storytelling behind it was Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, and Wen Wu, aka the Mandarin, being Shang-Chi's father, also had some backstory to it. Wong fighting Abomination, they brought Abomination back, which is awesome. They did tie it in with She-Hulk, which I did enjoy. Shang-Chi, I think, just goes up there. It's a movie that I'll go back on, just being awe with the CGI and the fight scenes, and once again, the soundtrack and just everything about it. It's just, there's a lot of great movies. Shang-Chi is continuing. Next up is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness versus Ant-Man. Multiverse of Madness wins it. Once again, I will always say there's more madness in this movie than multiverse. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, go watch it and then come back. Actually, it's what you should have done with these, but if you're watching it just because you're like, hey, like, I sometimes watch Marvel movies, but I just want to see what people's opinions are, so I don't care. Anyway, so Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It needed more multiverse, I think, for it to be better, but at the same time, the way that they're setting up and the way that they're talking about the multiverse, I think sets it up in a perfect way for us to get it. I think it was a perfect Phase 4 film. Actually, one of my favorite Phase 4 films. It might honestly be my second favorite. Like, I top 3 Phase 4 films as the winner of this tournament, and I can't say the rest. I can't say the rest because I think I said too much just by saying that. But I think just by saying the certain spots that certain movies were in, now granted, my opinion might change depending on what movies face what movies, of course, and the more I think about it. But anyways, it depends with that. But compared to Ant-Man, once again, Ant-Man was a fun film. I enjoyed it. It did set up Ant-Man for a lot of ways, going back and rethinking about it from the MCU. But Multiverse of Madness, it sets up perfectly for what the future of the MCU will be. And Scarlet Witch will come back because I think after Multiverse of Madness, Elizabeth Olsen confirmed that she did sign 6 more years with the MCU. So there's that. So Multiverse of Madness is continuing on. Next up is Doctor Strange versus Thor: Love and Thunder. Oh man, this is man, oh man, this is a movie. These are two movies I was kind of like, which one do I like more? As much as I want to give it to Doctor Strange, and I don't know, this is a tough one. I kind of want to give it to Doctor Strange, but at the same time, I kind of wanted to give it to Thor: Love and Thunder. Jeez Louise. This is hard. I Dormammu's in Doctor Strange. I love Dormammu, one of my favorites ever since a little kid. When I was a little kid, I loved pronouncing his name, Dormammu. I just randomly say that when I was a fucking kid because I enjoyed it so much. Because I learned him from Superhero Squad, and he was one of my favorites from that. Once again, as I get older and as I get more into comic books, like Dormammu has just become one of my absolute favorites, and I know that he's very, very powerful. So I'm like, holy shit. Anyways, Thor: Love and Thunder, once again, the goats were in it, which were awesome. The two Celestials, I forgot about the two Celestials. Also, there were some corny jokes in it, but at the same time, so there's some really great moments. Man, these are kind of just neck and neck. I thought Iron Man and Guardians Volume 3 was a tough decision. This is probably going to be the movie that is really, really hard. I gotta give it to, I gotta give it to Doctor Strange. As much as I want to give it to Thor: Love and Thunder, that was also a great film, though. Thor: Love and Thunder was also a great film. There we go. Okay, so I just had to tap things a few times. I'm gonna switch up. I'm gonna give it to Love and Thunder. I enjoy Love and Thunder more. Once again, Doctor Strange I'll enjoy. It's just because I watched Doctor Strange before we went to go see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but Love and Thunder, I enjoyed it. I enjoy Love and Thunder. It was a great movie, and surprisingly, it's going on, I think, for a lot of people. Next up is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever versus Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I gotta give it to Black Panther. Wakanda Forever was such a great movie. The celebration with Chadwick Boseman, the post-credit scene with getting introduced to T'Challa's son, T'Challa Jr., is what I call him. He's, of course, his name is T'Challa, meaning Shiri, but I think, I'm gonna call him T'Challa Jr., and then of course T'Challa Sr. would have been Black Panther, so I hope big things come with that. It looks like they will be, so I hope a lot of people like them more, but it looks like but it looks like she is gonna be the main Black Panther, and she's really good. I did love the addition of Killmonger. When Killmonger was back, I was like, oh yay, Killmonger, because I loved the character. He was awesome. Um, so just this movie was great. Once again, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, it was also a great movie, but Ego the Living Planet as the villain, while yes, it was great, for story purposes, for Star-Lord and his mother and all that, it just Wakanda Forever, I think, is the best way to go. Next up is Avengers Endgame versus Spider-Man No Way Home. Two fantastic fucking movies in their own right. So you just got two great movies. Let's off with Endgame. Endgame, phenomenal. I think I've seen that movie at least 4 or 5 times. I've enjoyed it every single time. I think I've studied most of the lines in that movie as well. Where it's just it's somewhat muscle memory by this point. Same thing with Spider-Man No Way Home. Some of the lines in that movie, muscle memory. Avengers Infinity War, muscle memory with most of the lines. But also Infinity War I studied because before Endgame came out, before Endgame was even announced the title to be Endgame, I was in this thing for school. Quick story time with me. I did this thing for school. It was drama. It was for, oh my god, I can't remember the name. Forensics, that's what it was. Forensics, not like computer forensics, but actual forensics. Where we had to do drama, poem readings, just whatever, improv, whatever. I did Avengers Infinity War because I did regular drama, so I did that, so that's the reason why most of the lines are by muscle memory for that movie. But Endgame, such a great movie. I remember watching trailer when I saw Thanos grab Captain America's shield. Now, they, I think, cut it out. I think Thanos grabbed Captain America's shield. I can't remember if I saw it in the trailer or not. I know he didn't in the movie, but in the trailer, I think I remember seeing it. And I was like, holy shit. Also, Steve Rogers wielding Mjolnir, that was awesome. And little quick fun fact about Endgame. Whenever we see Mjolnir getting lifted off the ground, that's actually Chris Evans lifting up Mjolnir and throwing it. The Russo brothers were going to record him picking it up and throwing it, but then they decided, let's just pan the camera down to Mjolnir, and then we just see it getting lifted up. So whenever it hit Thanos and it came back to Captain America, that whole thing was just huge. The portal scene, I think I agree. I can stand with everyone say that was the best moment of the film, no doubt about it. That moment was so good. And there was nothing that will beat that unless if it's gonna be Secret Wars, and we get to see every single Marvel character with Deadpool, with Fantastic Four, Wolverine, just Ironheart, everyone. But it was just great movie, and also the death of both Iron Man and Black Widow was super sad as well. But going into No Way Home, oh man, dude, just CGI was phenomenal. I think I've seen that movie like 6 times already. That movie was so good. My movie theater experience there was just phenomenal. I own it on Blu-ray. I think I've seen it on Blu-ray like 3 times. I say 6 times because I think I've seen it in theaters 3 times, but I'm counting one of those times as the more fun version. So, because I just remember, oh my god, it was just so good. I remember seeing it first time around, and I just was like, dude, like, I want to go back, and I want to re-see it again, and I actually really want to pay attention to the film. But even though I paid attention to the film first time around, I about damn near lost my voice that day. But I remember seeing the trailer for it the first time ever, and being like, holy shit, we're getting a trailer. I think No Way Home gets the love and affection it deserves. Like Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, he just did so good. It gives me chills every time I think of him. It gave the cast chills whenever he just inserted Green Goblin. Electro being in that movie, I loved it. Sandman being in the movie, just being Sandman, it was great. Same thing with Lizard. It was great seeing Lizard back. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were awesome returns. It was just like the cherry on top of an already perfect ice cream cone. It was, oh my god, it was just so good. I think everything great I've said about this movie, I've said many times, and once I say it to one person, it's just like, I can't fathom enough how much I love this movie. It's just personally one of my favorite movies of all time. Next up is Iron Man 3 versus Spider-Man Far From Home. Oh boy. Iron Man 3, once again, was a great film. We got to see, I think, the old suit it was make a return, but also this was the only Iron Man movie without AC/DC, so that's a little shocker of one for ya. But I think I gotta go Spider-Man Far From Home on this one. Spider-Man Far From Home, I did enjoy much more. We get to see, Quentin Beck talk about Iron Man, so this is great. Once again, Spider-Man going up against a Iron Man movie. How, what a shock, It was just so many great things about this movie. It's just, once again, Mysterio, one of my absolute favorite villains in general. I enjoy this movie equally as much as I do Infinity War. I remember first time seeing it in theaters, I was like, holy shit, this was amazing. I remember going to my mom being like, that movie was so fucking good after I saw it. I'm like, that was so good. I've only seen it once and I remember really enjoying it. I can't wait until it comes out on Disney Plus. I think the 15th. Yeah, this is the 10th. So I believe the 15th of this month, Homecoming comes on to Disney Plus. Hopefully the Amazing Spider-Man 2 will come out on Disney Plus as well sometime. But Homecoming comes out on the 15th, but once Far From Home comes out, I think I actually own I own every single Spider-Man movie except for Let There Be Carnage and Morbius. Those are the only two Spider-Man related films I don't own. Excluding, and even Venom at that, though. Like, excluding, Venom, Venom, Venom Let There Be Carnage, and Morbius, excluding those films, I do, of course, own every Spider-Man movie, and I still do own every Spider-Man movie on Blu-ray and DVD. And Spider-Man Far From Home is, of course, one of those movies where I do own on Blu-ray, and I can't wait to see I can't wait to rewatch it again. It was great. Iron Man 3 I also own on Blu-ray, and like I said, I really enjoyed the film whenever I saw it in theaters. And it's been a while since I've seen it, and I kind of want to go back and rewatch it at some point. I have an idea to go back and watch all the Marvel movies eventually, right before Secret Wars comes out, but I want to do some mathing before I do that. So it might take me until 2024 to figure everything out, but trust me, guys, I have ideas for it. So Spider-Man Far From Home is taking the win. Next up is Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War versus Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Infinity War wins it. Quantumania was such a good film. Quantumania did the right thing with introducing King the Conqueror, and it did a lot of great things. But compared to Infinity War, dude, I loved Thanos before. After I saw this movie, Jesus Christ, I want to be Thanos when I grow up. This motherfucker goes around, collects colorful, powerful rocks. Could you imagine being high and watching this film? Holy shit. You'd be thinking Thanos was doing drugs for doing shit like that when you say he collects powerful, colorful rocks with a golden glove. Yeah, that's one way to describe Infinity War, but dude, it was just heart-stopping. And whenever he snapped and everyone dusted away, holy shit, everyone just went silent. My mom looked at me and she saw it with her best friend down here in Delaware. She's like, because it was after a con, because she saw this movie without me, which I'm still trying to figure out a way to get my revenge on her with that. I saw Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings without it, but I'm still trying to figure out a way for me to come back at that. She saw Infinity War without me, so I'm still trying to Yeah, she saw Infinity War without me and before me, so I'm still trying to find a way to come back at that. But Infinity War was such a great film, very underrated. And when it came out, I'm like, dude, like once Avengers 4 comes out and once we figure out this whole fucking situation, that movie might just be better than this. But goddamn, I was like, this is the greatest film ever. So Infinity War wins it. Oh man, getting into round 3, which is not the semifinals, but the semifinals, the semifinals, but round 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 versus Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Oh, fuck. Phase 4 versus Phase 5. Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Love the soundtrack. Love the storytelling. Love the fighting in it. Love the CGI in it. Like, I want Morris. I need Morris in my life. Why? Why, Marvel, do you have to make these make-believe cute creatures that I just want to fucking adopt and hug? So does everyone else, but Jesus Christ, I want Morris. Morris is probably one of my favorite characters of that. It's like Wilson. Like, Wilson is my favorite character in Castaway. That was a great movie, but I think he stole the entire movie. Tom Hanks was good as well, but I think Wilson stole it. Anyways, jokes aside, it was a great movie all around. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it hit me in the feels. When Star-Lord went on and visited his grandfather, I will say this also with Endgame and Guardians Volume 3, they were kind of familiar, they were both hit me in the feels. Personally, as a human being, and I'll describe why. In 2016, I lost my great-grandfather. And I was watching Endgame, and I was watching Peter Quill get back together with his grandfather at the end of the movie. And whenever that happened, I got a little choked up in the movie theater there, especially during Endgame with the old man Captain America. I just kind of sat there and got choked up a little bit over that scene. It was just heart wrenching for me, and in that moment, I almost fucking shredded in tears. Like, even I think I spread like a tear or two during that scene. I was like, motherfucker. I think okay, I will give it to Endgame. I'm sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because think about more. I don't think there are many Marvel movies and movies in general that I've actually shredded a few tears. I've never, I don't think, cried during a film besides from like the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which fuck me, I always forget the name of. But I think I only somewhat cried because I was, you know, scared of the mermaids. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I was scared of them at first, because they were, fucking vampire mermaids, and I was a little kid at the time, but I loved the other Pirates movies. I loved Davy Jones, because he was my favorite Pirates of the Caribbean villain. Still is. Yep. Now I think about it. Still is my favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie, because they aren't underrated. I'm sorry, they aren't overrated. They are underrated films. They are some of the fucking greatest films. Anyways, but no, but genuinely, like, heartfelt, emotional tears. I felt strong emotions during Endgame, especially with the whole Captain America scene. Um, but it was just, I think by this point in my life, it's just, in person, I think I've just dealt with so many deaths that I think just by watching these sad movies and these sad TV shows, I will say, like, Supernatural, it hit me in the fucking feels. I think that was the only one of the very few TV series I think I cried over at the end. And I think I cried, like, during the final 2 episodes of the series. Sure, like, after, Austin Alley ended, I cried because that's the show that got me into, music. Um, like, Supernatural was a show that I think I cried over, like, the last 2 fucking episodes of, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 it was, I think, the one movie that made me shed a few tears. But it's just, I think, because I've just dealt with death so much in my life where these emotions just kind of don't really hit too hard with me anymore. Like, after my dog passed, I just really haven't felt that much sadness. Like, I just kind of go, damn, like, this person died. I'm just like, oh, fuck me. And, like, the inside of myself, like, especially watching these Marvel films, like, watching these people who I grew up watching, who I grew up were my heroes, um, just, just kind of die and go off screen. It's just kind of, like, heart-wrenching, and, like, to see these characters move on. It's just Endgame. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it gets it just goes on for me because it just hits me in the feels in many, many different reasons. Next up is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness versus Thor: Love and Thunder. Two films I could kind of go back to back on, but I think I enjoy Multiverse of Madness much more than I do Love and Thunder. Multiverse of Madness, you say the words multiverse and something, and you have me sold. I will watch everything and I will read everything that has to do with multiverse. I love a good multiversal storyline. Sequels 2015, probably my favorite multiverse storyline. Probably my favorite multiverse storyline. Nope, I'm sorry. That's the Flash. I'm sorry. Flashpoint is my favorite multiversal storyline. The favorite DC storyline. Until I'm done reading Crisis on Infinite Earths, because I think that'll be actually very, very good. It's packed up in storage right now with some other trade paperbacks that I have. It's like at the bottom. I could have gotten it months ago, but I was just like, fuck me. So yeah. So Multiverse Madness, I think because of the multiverse whole thing, I think that one's over Love and Thunder. Once again, they just kind of ruined goal. That's why they aren't going to go as far. I'm honestly, with some of the matches they had, I'm surprised that they got as far as they did. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that they got this far, but Love and Thunder, I don't think it's going to get any further than that. Next up is Black Panther Wakanda Forever versus Spider-Man No Way Home. Talk about two fucking heart-wrenching movies. Once again, like the real-life death of Chadwick Boseman, them playing on like a disease that they had, it was just like, like it was so heart-wrenching. But Spider-Man No Way Home, like, wow, yes, it was more heartbreaking, sadder for Wakanda Forever because of that, and it was supposed to be a celebration for Chadwick Boseman. I think all around movie-wise, the way it was done is Spider-Man No Way Home. Sure, there were a lot of great moments in Wakanda Forever, but I think Spider-Man No Way Home, it's just, once again, it was perfect. Everything that good I've said about it, I think I'm just running out of great things to say about this movie. Once again, Toby Andrew, I can't spat it enough. I will keep saying this until people get it through their thick fucking skulls. I know I only have to say it once, but goddamn, I'll keep saying this. In my book, Spider-Man No Way Home is a perfect fucking movie, even without Toby and Andrew. They were the cherry on top of the already perfect ice cream cone. Think about like the best ice cream cone ever that you've ever had in your life, and just add something to it to make it even extra, and that's what they were to this movie. Just everything about this movie. Like, one of my favorite moments from the film was when Spider-Man it was right after Aunt May's death. Spider-Man was looking on to the screen with J. Jonah Jameson, talking about the death of Aunt May or whatever, or talking about like the tragedy that struck, and we only listened to J. Jonah Jameson. Tom Holland didn't have to fucking do anything. Just the way that scene was shot, and the way that he was just sad and he was crying in the rain. You could see like the blood pour off from him from the battle, because I was never, I don't think, really in the spot of a movie character before, where I felt the pain that they were going through. Because honestly, I've felt that way before when some of my family members have died. And hell, I'll full on say that once my rabbit goes, I'm gonna fucking feel like that for a few days, weeks, months, years even. So just being in that spot, I know what it was like. I felt like I was Spider-Man. Like, it not only felt like I was standing right next to him, but it felt like I was him in that moment. It was just Spider-Man No Way Home is going. It's going on for me. It's just everything about that movie is just one of my absolute fucking favorites. It's just, it is so good. I just can't say enough. That movie is so good. Next up is Far From Home and Avengers Infinity War. Oh man, this is a tough one. Because the more I'm thinking about Far From Home, the more I'm like really enjoying it. But at the same time, Infinity War is just, man, it's Infinity War. Like, you can't beat Infinity War. It was one of the biggest climactic things ever. And Infinity War and Endgame were both the Infinity Gauntlet comic book series into two parts. Like, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, how that's split up into parts 1 and 2. That's kind of like Infinity War and Endgame. You could have just called both of those movies Avengers Infinity Gauntlet Part 1, Avengers Infinity Gauntlet Part 2. And that's what these movies would have been. It would have been two separate parts of the Infinity Gauntlet, just without the time travel. But Infinity War was such a great fucking movie. Like, I'll go back. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it. But I think if I go back and I rewatch, I'm just gonna go, God damn, that was an excellent movie. I think it's going on for sure. It's easily up there in my top 3 favorite movies. Um, Spider-Man Far From Home, once again, another great movie, but then there was some moments in there that kind of just pushed it back a little bit for me, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed Mysterio. I enjoyed how he got his illusions. I love the CGI work that they did with that. It was just everything about it screamed Mysterio and how he's supposed to be, and that's what was great. But Infinity War had Thanos as the villain, and Thanos personally is one of, no, that's a lie, scratch that. Thanos is my favorite villain. I said it. Thanos is my favorite villain ever. I picked up comic books with Thanos on it, and I pick up comic books with Galactus on it. With both of them on the covers, I love both of them equally the same. But even at that, though, Thanos I enjoy more because you get to dive deeper into his backstory. All that Galactus is I love about him is that he used to live on a separate planet, and now he's a big guy. He's super fucking powerful. Love his character, and he survives off of eating planets. You just tell me that someone is larger than worlds themselves and he eats plants for a living to survive, you have me fucking sold. And the more I read into him, the more I love him. But Thanos, it's just, I think emotionally I can like grasp onto his feelings more. Like, I think I can relate to him. That's what I'm looking for. I think I can relate to Thanos more. In the movies, he's doing it because he wants to wipe out half the population to save resources. In the comics, he's doing it to impress Mistress Death. Also in the comic books, he made Nebula. So technically, Nebula is Thanos' actual daughter. She's not an adopted daughter of Thanos. She actually is a daughter of Thanos. But the fight scenes in it, with him on Titan, with him facing the Guardians for that brief moment, there were really some, like, oh shit moments. Like when Star-Lord pulled the trigger and those bubbles came out. Oh my god, it was just, there were a lot of great movements. Infinity War is moving on. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 versus Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness in the semifinals of Block 1. Aw, man, which one is going to go on? I gotta say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's just, there's so much about that movie. Like, once again, Multiverse of Madness, they named Cthulhu. They introduced us to the multiverse and what it has in store, but it's just from beginning to end. Like, that movie was just action packed. Scarlet Witch was a scary fucking villain. Talk about two movies that kind of pushed the boundaries of the MCU. Multiverse of Madness pushed it in horror-wise, which Once again, if Nightmare was the villain, I think it'd be Marvel's first horror movie, because I think they really were trying to push for a horror movie for that film, and they kind of did it in an awesome way. Captain Carter was in it, Professor X was in it, Black Bolt was in it, which is fucking awesome. We got to see, I think it's Earth 838, where we got to see that Defender Strange. I think he killed Thanos by using the Darkhold, which the Darkhold is actually a thing in the comic books, that lets you, be evil and whatnot. And we got to see the Doctor Strange from the What If in the movie as well, and got to see some music fights with that, which was fucking incredible. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Jesus Christ, that movie was so fucking good. And of course, it's just because of the order these movies were in, I can't, say that Guardians 3 was better than Endgame and Infinity War, because if I really think about it, because Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War are both in my top 3 Marvel movies. Of course, I said I like No Way Home better than Endgame, so that would be the next battle. Of course, No Way Home versus Infinity War, which one do I like more out of them? But some of these movies, of course, once again, they're just in the order that they came out in. So most of these movies are facing off against some that I could be like, oh yeah, I like this movie more than this movie. Like, it's just really hard for me to say. Like, if Thor Love and Thunder and Thor Ragnarok went off against each other, like, and that was the first matchup, Love and Thunder wouldn't have gotten that far. Ragnarok is easily the best Thor movie out of them. I know it didn't show that was from how far Love and Thunder went, but it's just because of the matches Love and Thunder was against. But Guardians 3, man, it was so well written, it was so well done. James Gunn's last Marvel movie, the last Guardians movie, the last time they were together as a group. We got to see King Groot in the post-credit scene. There was just so much. We got to see Yondu and Kraglin use the little arrow, and Yondu just tap his chest like, use the heart, boy, use the heart. And it was, oh my god, just everything about that movie was so emotional, and there were a lot of feel-good movies. The High Evolutionary, you wanted him to die. They pushed the PG-13 boundaries with the blood and the violence and the F-bomb. They really pushed the PG-13 rating through that way. Multiverse of Madness pushed it through the horror aspect. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was so good. Like, I legit want to go back and rewatch it in theaters and really pay attention to it more and understand some more of the storylines, because there was so much that happened. Just first thing with Adam Cole. I mean, I'm sorry, not Adam Cole. Jesus fucking Christ, that's a wrestler. Adam Warlock go on and attack Rocket from the post-credit scene, with Rocket being, I'm sorry, to Adam Warlock at the end of the movie being that hero to the mid-credit scene with him joining the Guardians. Just that whole thing with Adam Warlock. Just give him time. He'll be a great Marvel movie character, and he'll be one of the strongest characters and one of the best. Once given the time, this was a perfect origin story for him. This was a perfect send-off for the Guardians. This was a perfect everything. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going on. Next up is Spider-Man No Way Home versus Avengers Infinity War. Holy shit balls. Oh man, like I said, most of the times, like, look at what happened with Far From Home earlier on. I enjoyed it more than a certain movie. I forget which one it was already, but I enjoyed that movie more than another one. But man, just whatever Guardians Volume 3 goes up against, it's gonna be a great movie clash. I think people are gonna be like, oh man, like, I kinda like this movie more than this one, or be like, nah, I like this one instead of that one. But as of right now, we got two of the best: No Way Home and Infinity War. A lot of people, I think, would go with Infinity War, and a lot of people would go with No Way Home. Let's just kind of break it down, and then I'll tell you what I go with. Avengers Infinity War. Talk about action, it was really good. Talk about still heart-wrenching to watch till this day. Sure, the movie has been out since 2018. Honestly, it still has been that great since 2018. If someone were, watching the Marvel films, or would watch at least 2 Marvel films, 3 Marvel films every day, yeah, I think they could get at least 2 or 3 done every day, unless they had to work. But it depends with what time they get off work and whatever. They could at least watch about 2 a day, and then maybe like 3 on weekends. Once again, depending on what they had going on. Once they get to Infinity War, they'd be like, man, like this is really good. Once again, I think Infinity War is like the Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. I don't know if anything past that, like Shawn Michaels Undertaker WrestleMania 25. Even though personally, I like the WrestleMania 26 match more, but that main evented. But the only reason why I'm saying Taker Michaels 25 is because that match didn't main event WrestleMania, even though it was WrestleMania main event worthy performance. Infinity War is like that WrestleMania main event performances, and is also like that WrestleMania match where it should have been the main event, even though it wasn't. Infinity War was just great. It gave us that Thanos backstory. It made Thanos look like even more of a badass than he already was. It made Thanos look like an actual fucking threat, which he's meant to be. Going on the other hand to Spider-Man No Way Home, that was the greatest multiversal movie yet. Who knows? Who knows? Flashpoint could be an even fucking great. I'm sorry, not Flashpoint. The Flash could be an even greater fucking multiverse movie. If the movie is better than the trailers are saying, it could be a great movie. Like, I have high expectations. Ezra Miller, sure, he's went to prison for doing all that shit and whatever. But at that, though, fucking hell. He's not my favorite Flash. Grant Gustin is my favorite Flash, but god damn it, he's probably gonna perform one of my favorite DC movies after this by the looks of it. Spider-Man No Way Home. I watched that movie. I had the greatest time ever. I clapped. I cheered. I felt like I was gonna fucking cry. I laughed. You name it, I did it for every single movie. Every a Marvel movie. I had every single emotion for a Marvel movie that you're supposed to have for a Marvel movie. I enjoyed this movie. If The Flash is gonna be one of my favorite DC movies, then Spider-Man No Way Home is my favorite. Is one of my favorite Marvel movies. Like I said, my opinion can change once we get to that. But guys, I know. No Way Home over Infinity War. Are you insane? I fucking love the film. Andrew Garfield, you should. Oh my god, I damn near had an orgasm when that happened. Like, Andrew Garfield was my favorite Spider-Man. I freaked the fuck out every time Andrew and Toby returned. Like, I could be sitting it watching it alone. I'd be like, oh yay, they returned, even though I knew that was gonna happen. I knew the exact fucking lines that's going on. Holy shit. This movie was great in every way possible. It was better than Infinity War, in my personal opinion. Spider-Man No Way Home is moving to the final round. It's just that fucking good. And finally, in the finals, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 versus Spider-Man No Way Home. When Guardians Volume 3 came out, I did not expect this to be in here this far up the list. I didn't know who they were going up against. I didn't expect them to even go to the finals, because I expect them to face like Endgame and Infinity War, and they didn't. They fought there was some tough battles for them, but they overcame the odds. That's the final one. Man, there was a lot of things great about these movies. Guardians Volume 3 was so good. It was so emotional. It was so cheerful. It was so happy. One thing that this movie didn't have outside of the movie itself was that movie theater experience, like I did with No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home, personally, was a great movie theater experience. It was so fucking good. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, they really didn't have that movie theater experience. I think I clapped I clapped a lot of times at the film. I think I was one of the only people that did. I about lost my shit when Star looked at Nebula and said, "Open the fucking door." I went woo, and then I started to clap. I lost it. I'm like, yay, the F bomb is out of the MCU. Hopefully, once in Secret Wars is hopefully when we get the black suit for Tom Holland Spider-Man. Hopefully, he'll be like you motherfucker, or like I'm gonna kill you, like I'm gonna fucking kill you or something. Him get pissed over it, and yeah, if that, imagine if Spider-Man just pulled that out of No Way Home. He just looked at Goblin and went, I'm gonna fucking kill you myself. Holy shit. Guardians, well, yes, that was a very comedic way to use the F-bomb. I think that was a lot of people like, holy shit, they just used it. Imagine what the reactions would have been for Spider-Man saying that. Like, when Spider-Man said, I just want to kill you myself for the Goblin after killing Aunt May, because he lost Aunt May. He lost all hope for that. Imagine how much more impactful if he looked at Goblin and just said, I'm gonna fucking kill you myself. That motherfucker, once he gets the black suit, he might actually kill someone. Spider-Man holds back his punches all the time. He was really trying not to hold back a punch during No Way Home, and even he jumped down, he went to go slam his fist in the Goblin and hit the floor, and I get it, it's a movie, it's supposed to look CGI, it's supposed to have sound effects in it, but god damn it, if it was real and he connected with it, Goblin would have been split into fucking twos and had his head squished in. William Dafoe, let's look at No Way Home here. William Dafoe, such an amazing fucking performance. Personally, Green Goblin's now become one of the greatest Marvel villains ever after that. He was one of the greatest in general. I went back and I was trying to at least watch all the Spider-Man movies, but I did watch the first Spider-Man film and I enjoyed it. And Willem Dafoe just did an amazing job. One of my absolute favorite actors. Him coming back as a Green Goblin and then just doing the Green Goblin things, just oh my god. Like, it's just too much greatness to say about him to not give him all the credit in the world. Jamie Foxx, oh god bless Jamie Foxx. I don't know what's going on with him. All I heard is that he suffered some sort of medical issues, like health issues, during a recording for a movie or something, or filming for a new movie that he's doing. So hopefully, God take care of him, because man, he's another one of my favorite actors, and him as Electro in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, personally, I enjoyed. And that's what made me fall in love with Electro, and then I really started to get more into Electro after that, and I was like, oh wow, Electro, he's actually a really cool character. So Electro just into this film was just amazing, and I absolutely lost it the day that they confirmed Jamie Foxx to be reprising his role as Electro in this film. And you know what? It was the same Electro as we got in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Lizard, the same Lizard and Dr. Cook Connors that we got from The Amazing Spider-Man. Dr. Otto Octavius, dude, holy fucking shit. Dr. Octopus was amazing in that, because he Ned Lee, like, I think I studied that entire bridge scene. I don't know why. Spider-Man and bridge scenes in those films are just fucking incredible. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. Probably, wow, one of my favorite scenes, it might have to be all the animals coming out at like the very end and trying to jump onto the ship and be saved. I think another one of my favorite scenes is the part where like Rocket and all the Guardians were going through the ship and fighting all those like people and like all the guns and whatnot. Like the scene, like the fight scene straight after Rocket said, "I'm done running," and then he's starting to walk towards it. It was, oh my god, that scene was fucking brilliant. there were a lot of great things to it. I'm glad that Sylvester Stallone came back. I popped hard for him. Gamora being with the Ravengers, that was great as well. Oh man, dude, I am just loving the movie the more I'm talking about it. Holy shit. Like, it is a lot to take in on one hand. On the other hand, holy fuck. Like, I need to see it again, but it was great. Once again, the guys, with also, you gotta think of the acting with, Zendaya as well, and the chemistry that Andrew, Toby, and Peter had with each other. And just Andrew improvising on the spot. I love you guys. Plus, he got his redemption for saving Gwen from dying or whatever and saving Zendaya. That was a great moment. Kind of like Adam Warlock. Like, he got his redemption for saving Star-Lord. Whenever he tried to, go and grab his MP3 player or whatever. Like, that was great. And also with Drax and Nebula going on, starting their own thing with the kids or whatever, that was great. I'd love to see Drax and Moondragon be with each other in the MCU. I don't know when that will be, but hopefully that will be soon. But I love Drax. He's my favorite Guardian. But Rocket, after seeing this movie, he just bumped up on my list. He's probably my second favorite Guardian, to be honest with you. Like, he was my second favorite, but I think he just bumped up a lot more because of that reason. He was just so good. And Adam Warlock, once again, he got redemption for saving Star-Lord and then becoming a Guardian, because I know Rocket went on and he probably asked him to be on the team, of course, or he just told him, he's like, hey, you're Guardian of the Galaxy now, probably, like off cameras or whatever. So there was that. But guys, here's the moment y'all been waiting for. What is my favorite MCU movie, and what is the best MCU movie in my personal opinion? It is Spider-Man Far From Home. Spider-Man Far From Home is your winner of the best MCU tournament. Once again, guys, it's a great movie. It's 5 stars. If I could give, it's a 10 out of 10. It's like a 20 out of 20, 100 out of 100. You just name me the fucking score, and that's what it is. It is my favorite movie ever. I'm studying like all the lines to it. The soundtrack is amazing. It has personally my favorite Spider-Man song in it, with the do that thing. Yeah, I fucking love that the day I heard it. Like, once again, the movie was already perfect. The acting in it, 10 out of 10 by everyone. Perfect. It couldn't have gotten better than that. Doctor Strange being in it was awesome. The fight scene with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, that's on one hand weird to say, on the other hand, it makes sense because Spider-Man needed that box because he was getting manipulated by the he was kind of getting manipulated by the villains and whatnot to get killed and whatever. It was just everything about it. And like I said, I'm trying to remember his name, guys. I'm so sorry, but Alpha Molina, that's a Dr. Octopus. Alpha Molina, he did such a great job returning. I don't know what it is about Spider-Man bridge scenes, but they are my favorites. My favorite movie, my favorite scene from The Amazing Spider-Man is the bridge scene. Spider-Man, did Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man have a bridge scene? I think he did with the Green Goblin, but I don't think that was my, favorite scene of the film. It's just something about Spider-Man and bridge scenes that are awesome. It's like Randy Orton and WrestleMania Daylight matches. Like, some of my favorite Randy Orton matches were in Daylight at WrestleMania. I don't know. It's like certain chemistry mixed with certain things. You know what I mean? Spider-Man No Way Home, the chemistry, you pull everything together and that's what you get. You just get a 5-star, 10-star, 11, like 15, 20, 25, 30, 100-star classic with Spider-Man No Way Home. As of right now, this has been my personal favorite movie since 2021. Who knows? Who knows what, the future movies are going to be like. Kung Fu Panda 4 is coming out next year. If wrote correctly and wrote greatly, it's looking to be a great end to Poe with, bringing back Tai Lung and Lord Shen and Kai. And Tai Lung is my favorite villain from Kung Fu Panda, and Kung Fu Panda 2 is my favorite movie out of those three. So it looks like that could be a great movie. So who knows? That could be my new favorite movie. Or it could just be my favorite animated movie in general. Or, Across the Spider-Verse could do something where, they could do a post-credit scene to that, referring to Spider-Man. Of course, they will name drop about that Doctor Strange and that kid from Earth 1999, aka Peter Parker and Doctor Strange, Tom Holland, Benedict Cumberbatch from No Way Home, which that set up for the multiverse greatly, And of course, whenever we see, I think the events in No Way Home is going on or during Loki, because at one point, He Who Remains fell a thing, and he's like, I felt a disturbance in like multiverse or whatever. I think that was whenever the spell was going on, and the multiverse broke, and he was just kind of like, oh shit, like something just went wrong because I'm trying to keep the multiverse intact because of my variants. So that was a great reason for that. But Spider-Man No Way Home, it just did everything right. It made, like, I was sad about, Aunt May dying. I was sad that Peter isn't ever gonna have MJ as his girlfriend and Ned as best friend, and just everything. Just, oh my god. Once again, the emotions I had about this movie were insane. I could talk all fucking day about it if I could. But personally, it's just my favorite movie. So guys, that's gonna be it. Best MCU movie tournament. Let me know what you guys thought, and do you guys want do you guys want to go on and for me to do another tournament of movies, or do you want to do like some of my top favorite movies? Because Spider-Man No Way Home is my favorite movie until God knows what comes out. But yeah, guys, that's all. Thank you all for watching this video. I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna get a drink here and head off to bed. Make sure you leave this video a like, comment down below. Let me know what your favorite MCU movie is. And download this Bracket HQ app. It's really, really good for like tournaments or whatever, because I sometimes do it just for fun. But this is, I think, the first one that I actually, completed out fully. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite MCU movie is down in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm gonna probably be doing this, and give me any ideas of what you want me to do. Like maybe a DC movie. Who knows? Maybe I should do a DC tournament movie, and with live action ones. Even though I haven't seen all the DC movies, I can do the ones I did before. Or do you want me to do the multiverse and the shows next? And then do you want me to go on and add everything with the multiverse and then the shows as a whole? I don't know. I might do that. Do you want me to do something like a Super Smash Brothers style tournament? I don't know. You guys let me know. But guys, thank you all for watching. You guys absolute legends. I'll see you guys in another video. Peace.